everyone. Welcome to the Fall 2021 University of Calgary Graduate Student Orientation, also known as GradO. My name is Dan Ferguson. I'm Team Lead, Graduate Education Community with the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and it's my pleasure to officially open Fall 2021 GradO. Starting out, I'd like to introduce you to our hosts for this welcome session. Dr. Robin Yates, Dean and Vice Provost of your home faculty, the Faculty of Graduate Studies, also known as FGS. And Tennille Chandro, the President of the Graduate Students Association, also known as the GSA.
Thank you, Dan. On behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, welcome to our third virtual GradO. And I'm speaking to you live from the headquarters of the Faculty of Graduate Studies on the 10th floor of Earth Sciences on main campus. And after walking around a generally deserted campus over the past few months, it's fantastic to see the campus come alive as we gear up for fall term. So today is about helping you prepare for your upcoming years as a graduate student at the University of Calgary. And I was, many years ago, a graduate student at one point, and I've supervised many graduate students, so I know what you're getting into. But be assured, everyone at the University of Calgary is working hard to ensure that you receive the best possible experience, starting with this virtual GradO.
Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Tennille Chandro, and I'm the president of the Graduate Students Association. I am also a current graduate student here, so more recent than Robin's been. And we are excited to be back on campus. This is actually the first meeting I'm taking in 2 years in the GSA boardroom. So really happy for all of you to be here virtually with me to experience this. And I'm so pleased to be here today with Robin to connect with you all and let you all know a little bit more about what it's like to be a graduate student at the University of Calgary. Now, as you can see from our agenda, we have a very full and engaging session over the next few hours. We will start with a welcome and introductions by some of our UCalgary senior leadership and follow it up with a lot of really important information to help set you up for success during your time here as a graduate student at the University of Calgary. Before we move on, let's learn a little bit more about you. So based on this week's registration data, we created a map of your countries of origin. So as you can see, in many cases, our UCalgary graduate students are coming from not just Calgary, but cities across Canada and countries from around the world. This map highlights where our September 2021 registrants are from, be it virtually or traveling here to join us in Calgary in person. Let's give a quick shout out to everyone joining, especially to those of you here where it's 3 or 4 a.m. your time. Thank you so much for being here and for your dedication to your orientation.
Thanks, Tennille. It's always a pleasure presenting with you. So while many of our attendees are joining us from various locations, we would like to take this time to acknowledge the lands from where we are presenting. So as a part of the University of Calgary's Indigenous strategy, which is called the Tapatope, the university has committed to developing a campus community that understands the histories, the worldviews of our Indigenous peoples, and the importance of the connection to the land. So as students of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, you are part of a university community that is privileged to be situated on the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes a Blackfoot Confederacy comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bezpor, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3.
Now, some of you may have heard these land acknowledgements before, but these may also be new to some of you. You will notice that at many UCalgary events, these land acknowledgements are given, and you may ask yourself, why? To learn more about why we do territorial land acknowledgements, we are so fortunate to have a video from Dr. Reg Crowshoe, a respected elder from the Piikani Nation, to tell us more. Dr. Crowshoe, the recipient of an honorary doctoral degree by the University of Calgary in 2001, is a member of the University of Calgary Senate and a prominent cultural and spiritual leader from the Piikani First Nations in southern Alberta, where he formerly served as chief. Dr. Crowshoe has a long-standing relationship with the University of Calgary and has generously shared and offered his assistance, ceremonial leadership, and traditional knowledge to students and other faculties for many years. He has been greatly involved with the Writing Symbols Lodge, which provides academic, personal, and cultural supports to First Nations, Métis, and Indigenous students. Finally, he offers guidance and input to the FGS Etopotope Working Group, through which the faculty endeavors to improve the graduate student experience of Indigenous graduate students. Let's take a moment to learn more from Dr. Crowshoe about the importance of territorial acknowledgements.
geographic locations are what we call natural laws. Our laws come from the land, and our practices of granting rights and privileges is a process we were born with that ties us to this land. The mother's body was the first environment that we experienced. And when it's time for you to leave, you go to the mother environment, which is the mother's body, and you ask the environment if you can leave. And a process happens where the mother grants you the privilege to leave. So you go into another environment. That's why we talk about Mother Earth. When we accept other people coming into our territory, there's a process that happens, a smudge, a practice of gathering of our people. And that practice is where we bring in permission to come into your territory. Those are systems that actually came from the mother's body to the environment that we live in. And we use those systems to greet other people as they come into our territory.
Excellent. If you'd like to learn more about the land acknowledgement at the University of Calgary and the Indigenous strategy at Tapatope, check out the web pages at ucalgary.ca/Indigenous. Next up, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Terry Bolser, the Provost and Vice President Academic at the University of Calgary. She began her appointment as Provost in April of this year. So Dr. Bolser comes to us from the University of Dalhousie, and her graduate work was completed at the University of California in Berkeley, where she obtained her PhD in soil microbiology. And she also did a postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Stanford in ecosystems ecology. Since then, Dr. Bolser has become widely known as a collaborative educational leader, accomplished research scholar, master teacher, and advocate of equity, diversity, and inclusion. She's also known to be an influencer and leader in STEM and an expert in teaching, research, and leadership. Unfortunately, Dr. Bolser couldn't be with us today. She's at a executive leadership team retreat, but we're very happy to play a message that Dr. Bolser recorded for us earlier in the week.
Good morning to you all, and welcome to the University of Calgary. My name is Dr. Terry Bolser, and I'm the Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. The Provost leads the university's academic planning and operations and works closely with the Research Office to help all parts of the university run smoothly. Prior to becoming an administrator, I was a pretty typical academic. My graduate work and experience, which was a long time ago, influenced my career and my life significantly. So I'm truly glad to be part of your experience and support you in any way that I can. I see graduate students as the beating heart of a research university. Your energy, curiosity, interests, and developing expertise drives the work that we do and is a vital contribution to our goal of being one of Canada's top 5 research universities. It's a challenging and rewarding path, and it's an important chapter in your life. The choices that you make and the topics you study during the next months to years will contribute to your personal and intellectual transformation, and quite possibly to that of others on campus in Calgary and even around the world. In addition to the difference you can make, a graduate education also challenges you to become the best possible version of yourself, requiring persistence, focus, creativity, and determination to make change happen. It's worth it. I know there are many roads leading to graduate studies. You may be coming from a previous degree and are on the path to an academic career. Perhaps you're coming from a professional background and are seeking new opportunities for the future. You may have come from nearby, or you may have traveled from another country amidst the uncertainty of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whatever your case may be, we are all proud that you've chosen University of Calgary, and I offer you my heartfelt best wishes for a successful graduate experience. We are glad you're here.
Excellent. And thank you to Dr. Balser for recording that for us. I hope everyone here has an opportunity to meet Dr. Balser over the time. Hopefully you'll see her in the corridors or out in the Olympic Oval. But at the very least, I hope you get to shake her hand at your convocation. Remember shaking hands, Tennille? Remember that thing? Now, you've heard Tennille and I talk about Faculty of Graduate Studies and the Graduate Students Association, and you might wonder, what is the difference between the two? And what is the difference between the two faculties to which you belong? So as graduate students, you have two faculties. You have a teaching faculty, or the location of your program of study. And you have the Faculty of Graduate Studies, the home faculty, where all graduate students at the University of Calgary are registered. For example, if you're an engineering student, you are taking studies in the Schulich School of Engineering, but you're also a student in the Faculty of Graduate Studies. And while your scholarly and research activities will be supported by your teaching faculty, the Faculty of Graduate Studies is here to help you succeed in other aspects of your academic journey at the University of Calgary. So we are here to help you navigate the rules and regulations of your academic programs. We also manage scholarships, fees, thesis guidelines, and payment plans. We provide professional development training and opportunities that will help you support your academics and your future career. And if you're having any difficulty in your program, we have specialist advisors that are here to help you one-on-one in a confidential, inclusive, and safe space. You'll hear more about the services and assistance that FGS provides later in the session. So that your teaching faculty and FGS are separate, but in a nutshell, we will work together with the GSA. So to explain more about the GSA, I'll pass it over to Tim.
Great. Thanks so much, Robin. So as graduate students, you are also all members of the University of Calgary Graduate Students Association. We are often referred to as the GSA, and we represent you, all the graduate students, and your interests to governing bodies at the university at all levels of government and within the Calgary community. Our goal is to advocate for you, graduate students, on any issues that impact your lives here. And as your GSA, we also have services to help you have a great graduate school experience. We are the managers of your health and dental benefits. We offer a variety of bursaries and grants throughout the year. And for academically employed graduate students, we are also the labor union and manage your collective agreement. We have many different ways for you to get involved outside of your studies through events, student groups, committees, and amazing volunteer opportunities. And if you have any questions about the GSA, please reach out to us. The student executive team and our GSA staff are ready to help you. And I will also share a lot more details in the upcoming session.
Excellent. Thanks, Tennille. The final piece of the puzzle is your graduate program, which is typically housed within your teaching faculty. Many graduate programs across the university will be offering their own specific orientation for incoming graduate students, and I would highly encourage you to attend these additional orientations if they are offered. They will drill down into some of the more specific or detailed, gritty information about your specific graduate program. Also keep in mind that some of the questions that come up in these sessions are best answered by your program. So if we don't address them here, keep on to them and ask them at your own program's orientation. So that brings us to the end of our welcome session. So thank you to the guests joining us today. Tennille, as noted, we'll hear from you in about 30 minutes. So I'll let you go for now and we'll see you soon.
See y'all soon.
Okay, thank you, Robin and Tennille. Before we take a deep dive into all of the crucial information that's coming up in the next section, let's hear first from a University of Calgary graduate student. So I'd like to introduce Mandy Moe, who will tell you a little bit about herself and share some advice about her own experience in graduate studies over the last year.
Hi, my name is Mandy. I'm a PhD student from Community Health Sciences, specializing in community rehabilitation and disability studies. I know it's a mouthful. So I'm definitely a unique case. I'm a Canadian student, and my life and research journey has taken me across the world, and I'm studying the mental health policies in Saudi Arabia. I'm very honored to have been asked to share some of my experiences and advice. First off, at some point in your very near future, if not presently, you'll feel overwhelmed. And I'm here to tell you that it's not a sprint. And you have to see this as a marathon, or you're burnt out, and it not only affects your life, the quality of your life, but you're not going to be as efficient. So here is your daily reality. You have to chunk those major tasks into small, manageable daily tasks and stay consistent. It means that you have to just touch your academic workload almost every day. It might be easier when you have a course with strict deadlines to get the fire under your bum to perform. But if I woke up every morning and promised myself that I would go to town on a certain chapter, I would go mad. There'll be good and bad days. On a good day, I can get so much done. But on a bad day, it is a total success if I just implemented page numbers. And that's totally fine and realistic. Just make sure you're consistent because it builds momentum. However, when I do take a decision to take days off and slow down, I not only tell myself to lay off work, which is hard because you're always thinking about your research, but I celebrate all my small and big successes during that time. Because resting and celebrating regularly is not only a skill set, but that's part of grad studies work. Believe me when I say it's necessary because we're such keeners, and we often look at the setbacks that are inevitably in our journey. Finally, I know you need support. That's very cliche. It could be your family, your friends, partner, dog, whatever. But the reason why I never gave up during those hard and certain times, and there were many and many more to come, thank you 2020, but the point is I never gave up because I built a network of support inside the university setting for the beginning of the program, or of my program. I say build a rapport with not only your supervisor, which is Captain Obvious, but find resources around you at the university. If you have a disability, build an online or in-person meet with your accessibility advisor. They led me to work with my strategist, who is like a fairy godmother to me. I wouldn't have known about her if I didn't ask. If you probably have questions, which I'm sure you do, direct them to your FGS advisor, or even a graduate program administrator. They're called GPAs. Utilize the Wellness Center for therapists. I familiarize myself with the resources in U of C, so when uncertainty hits, I know I can reach out and have access to them to discuss my action plan or options, and that alleviated so much anxiety. Think about it this way. You wouldn't see your dentist when you finally have painful cavities, I hope, and in the same wavelength, you need to keep good mental hygiene at all times. So keep touch with the U of C as often as you can. I'm proud that I'm still standing. Surprised that I am, but I'm super proud of it. And I'm still consistent. And I will keep pacing myself all the way to the finish line. And I hope we all get there too. And on that note, good luck and stay safe.
Okay, great. Some very sage advice from Mandy, so I hope you found that valuable. For the remaining two sessions, we have lots of great information to present to you, and we do recognize that you may have questions at some point. And to ask questions, I just want to remind you to please use the Q&A box. If you are fairly new to Zoom, if you look down at the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll find a spot there that says Q&A. And I see that some of you have started to post some questions there, so that's fantastic. We've got a team of people working behind the scenes here that are going to answer your questions, or depending on the question, we may ask the speaker to address the question directly in the presentation. To reduce the number of duplicates, you can also upvote a question. This means that if you see a question that someone else wrote that also interests you, just upvote it so we see which topics may be of importance to many of you. If we don't answer your question right away, don't worry. We may just be waiting until a later point in the session to keep the flow moving along. Or we may indicate to you in the Q&A that we will prepare a more comprehensive response for you within the coming week in the GradO online D2L module. Now, one last thing before we get started on the next section. If you haven't already noticed, you should all have access to a D2L module, as I just mentioned, called the Graduate Student Orientation. You should have received an email this morning with a link to that D2L section. This non-credit optional module is accessed through our online learning system. D2L stands for Desire to Learn. D2L gives you much more information than we could contain in this presentation and is focused on making sure you are aware of all of the resources available to you on campus. It will also help you to be clear about what you need to get done in your first months at the University of Calgary. You can try logging in now to view the module. On any UCalgary webpage, if you click the little red arrow at the top right of the page, a message bar will open. You can find the quick access link to D2L on the left side of the red bar. While you're on the D2L, we encourage you to look at the checklist. It gives you a ton of reminders about those tasks that are really important to finish at the start of your studies. We've also included other information like all the services available on campus that are specific to graduate students. Spend some time digging into this information. There's a lot of valuable stuff there. Now, in the next few weeks, we will also post a video recording of this GradO session to that D2L module. Keep an eye on GradPost, an email that Grad Studies sends to all graduate students every Thursday, to learn more about when that video will be available and to hear about all sorts of other opportunities and reminders. And from there, I think we're back over to you, Robin.
Thank you, Dan. Now we're sort of switching gears into the more informative section of the presentation of GradO. Dan, just feel free to interrupt me if there are any burning questions that you see coming through online. So there's a great deal of information in the GradO resource so that Dan mentioned, and I highly encourage you to check it out. So let's move on to the next session. We're going to learn more about details of how we at the Faculty of Graduate Studies can help support you throughout your degree. So as mentioned, oh gosh, look at all those photos. My name is Robin Yates and I'm the Dean and Vice Provost of Graduate Studies, but I'm also a professor in the Cummings School of Medicine and the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, where I am the very proud supervisor of 4 graduate students. And I believe there are 3 graduate students in the audience today, which I will be co-supervising. So on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, I enthusiastically welcome all of you to the University of Calgary. And as a graduate student, you join a community of nearly 7,000 graduate students pursuing advanced credentials. So graduate studies is special. Everyone on the Zoom webinar has an undergraduate degree, but the undergraduate student experience and the graduate student experience are fundamentally different. So as an undergraduate, we were net consumers of knowledge. The value of the process, the whole degree was to get that parchment, that undergraduate degree. So it's a little different with graduate studies. That piece of paper with a PhD or a master's on it is certainly nice, but it's the journey towards that piece of paper where the real value of your degree is. So during this journey, unlike undergraduates, you're not just net consumers of knowledge, you're also disseminators of knowledge through teaching and publication. You're also mobilizers of knowledge through interactions with your profession and your discipline, both here and in your community. And most notably, many of you will be creators of new knowledge. You actually create new knowledge through your original research. So we often focus on the traditional academics of graduate studies, but the graduate student experience is more than that. The real value is not just your transcript, your GPA and the parchment, but also the professional reputation and network that you build. It's also the personal, professional, and leadership skills that you develop outside of your formal curriculum. So every now and then, ask yourself, take a step back and say, in addition to my degree, what else am I going to get from this experience? And once you identify these things, go out and get them. And don't forget, we at Faculty of Graduate Studies and all across campus are here to help you achieve these goals. So in the next 2 sections, you'll learn about what we can at FGS can help with.
Certainly, the undergraduate and graduate experience are very different. So before we jump into the next section, we're going to take a moment now to take a temperature check of our participants. Using the website or QR code that you see on screen there, please take a minute now to go to menti.com and answer the following question. Please describe how you are feeling about starting your studies this fall using only 2 words. The words can be separate or together, positive, negative, or neutral. We'll give you about 1 minute to do that, but in the meantime, Robin, I thought maybe I could take note of 1 or 2 of the questions that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're going to talk about COVID in a moment, but there are some students that are starting to wonder about classes being online or in person. Somebody has asked, are there any consistent campus-wide regulations for in-person classes?
Yes, there are consistent regulations, but there's also flexibility. We recognize that different learners and different students have different situations. We have many of our international students through travel restrictions or delays in visa brought on by the COVID pandemic. They're unable to travel to Calgary to start their program. And so we are trying to offer as much flexibility as possible to encourage these students to start. So the courses that you're registered in will be coded in the system as in-person or online or blended. However, if you have an in-person class and you're having troubles getting to class or getting to Calgary, please reach out to your graduate program director or your instructor to see what can be offered.
There's a similar question, Robin. I'm going to just take a shot at this one because I think I know the answer. Some of our courses have been changed to online and web-based. Does that mean they are not going to be held in person? And I think that, yes, generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robin, but I think that that is what that means, that those courses will be only held online.
Correct. They will, if they have been changed and coded in the system as online, they will be conducted online. And that's really in response to the changing landscape of COVID-19 in Alberta. As you know, we're heading into a fourth wave. And so what we had planned to deliver face-to-face, it did have to be adjusted. So I apologize if this inconvenienced many people and people are disappointed. But please, if you're here in Calgary and you do have online courses, come to campus, engage in campus activities, take in a dinos game, go to the library, create study groups, and be part of the campus culture, even if you are predominantly online with your course instruction.
Now, Robin, I don't know if you've noticed what we're seeing with the Mentimeter here, but I certainly have noticed that 3 or 4 words are consistent: anxious, excited, nervous, overwhelmed. This all sounds like par for course for starting out in grad studies.
Absolutely. We have enthusiastic and ambitious there as well. But yeah, we're not only is it exciting and anxious and different to go into graduate school. We're doing it in a really strange period in our community, and that is at the tail end, hopefully the tail end of a COVID-19 pandemic. So it adds an extra layer of complexity there. But one thing that's is always the case with graduate school is the case of imposter syndrome. And you've heard of imposter syndrome there, Dan?
Absolutely. I mean, I still suffer from it from time to time myself.
Me too. Imposter syndrome, if you actually look at imposter syndrome and you look at the definition of imposter syndrome and what some of the dictionaries or Wikipedia or something, it actually mentions graduate students specifically in many of those. And that is because imposter syndrome is very common amongst graduate students, particularly those starting out. So, when I took on this position, like any scientist, I wanted to find out more about imposter syndrome, particularly when it came to grad school. And many experts in the field pointed to a study done by Dunning-Krueger, which was done in Cornell University in the late 90s. And that's where I got my PhD, Dan, it was from Cornell. So this has been repeated in many different contexts, but it's surprisingly the same results. And what they did, they measured the confidence of the participants and their ability in a particular field. So one would expect that, as your knowledge or ability in a particular field increases, your self-confidence would increase in a linear fashion, right? That would make sense. But that's not actually what the relationship looks like. So the relationship looks like this. So an individual has very little or a little bit of knowledge, but not too much knowledge, have sky-high levels of confidence. And this here has been nicknamed Mount Stupid. But as the individual learns or develops a little bit more knowledge in their field or discipline, they realize that they don't actually know that much in this field, and their confidence plummets. And this is nicknamed the Valley of Despair. So this is where imposter syndrome sets in. But the good news is, as an individual's knowledge and ability develops in the field, so does their self-confidence, but only incrementally. And so this is nicknamed the slope of enlightenment. So let's bring it back to the graduate student experience. So how does this work for graduate students? Now, as an undergraduate, you have a little bit of knowledge in a diverse array of fields. And so I can speak from my own experience. I came into my PhD. I did my PhD in microbiology and tuberculosis. And having done a little bit of microbiology in my undergraduate degrees, I thought I knew a fair amount about tuberculosis and immunology. But as soon as I started to scratch the surface, I realized that I really didn't know much at all. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of publications out there, which I was overwhelmed with. So I fell definitely into the Valley of Despair there. But then as I incrementally increased my knowledge and ability in the field, I pulled myself out of the Valley of Despair and into the slope of enlightenment. So I think the takeaway message here is, if you feel like, you've got this imposter syndrome, like you shouldn't be here, they've made a mistake in my application, I don't know anything in my particular discipline, that is absolutely normal. And it's a good thing, because that means you're actually increasing your knowledge. And so the idea is to increase your knowledge, talk to your supervisor, talk to your peers, and to bring yourself out of that valley of despair onto the slope of enlightenment. And certainly if you're having troubles pulling yourself out of the valley of despair, or you have fellow students who are in these doldrums, seek help. There are plenty of places on campus to which you can seek help and advice. Your supervisor, your program, faculty graduate studies, student wellness, student success center, and we'll go through more of these later on in this session, Dan.
That sounds great, Robin. I just want to jump in for a quick session, because I know we're getting a lot of questions about the D2L module right now. And so I just want to reassure all of our graduate students attending this morning, there may be some issues that you're encountering with D2L. My advice right now, don't worry about it. We're going to fix this. We're going to deal with all of these these issues as soon as possible. But for the time being, you're probably all better off to just keep your attention focused on GradO, and don't worry too much if you're having issues with D2L. We are aware, and we will troubleshoot those for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dan. And the D2L resource is going to be everlasting throughout your graduate studies. So you'll be able to check in with this D2L course at any stage. And we'll be constantly populating it with different resources and different information. So keep an eye on that. It's not a sprint. It's going to be a marathon. And that D2L course will be with you to help remind you of the services offered by faculty graduate studies. So excellent. So let's switch gears and let's talk about the elephant in the room. And I know there's a couple of questions coming up, and that is COVID-19. So as we prepare for fall term, the university is launching a program called COVID Safe Campus. And there's a few things you need to know, and there's a lot of information here. So I'm going to just hit some of the high points, and then I'll refer you to the COVID Safe Campus website, which has much more detailed information and links. So first of all faculty, staff, and students must either be fully vaccinated with a Health Canada approved vaccine and disclose their vaccine status, or they must enroll in a rapid testing program if they intend to be on campus. So those who are unvaccinated must undergo rapid testing twice a week, and the university will provide these testing kits. So masking will be required on campus, and there are a few exceptions we'll talk about in a moment. But first of all, if you are not vaccinated, we highly recommend that you seriously consider receiving the COVID-19 vaccines, as this is the best way to protect yourself against the serious consequences of COVID-19, and it's also the best way to protect those around you. And to help make it easier for you, vaccination clinics are available on campus, and the COVID Safe website will show you where they are. As always, as it's been throughout this pandemic, you must stay at home, self-isolate, and get tested if you are symptomatic. Please do not come to campus if you are feeling ill. Anyway, so back to masking. So masks are not required under the following circumstances. So if you're alone in a private office, for instance, I'm in my private office, I'm not wearing a mask. If you're outdoors with a minimum of 2 meters or 6 feet between people, if you're indoors also and you are able to maintain a 2-meter distance between people, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're alone in a shared space, if you're in a room in a library or in the lab and you are alone, you are able to take the mask off. If you're in a cubicle with plexiglass, or barriers that are sufficient to prevent airflow between people, you can take them off. And also in a classroom, if there are 2 meters between everyone in that room. So please wear a mask if you're not sure of whether you can take your mask on or off. Perhaps just leave it on and make people feel around you a little bit more comfortable. And finally, I just want to sort of point this out, and we are all in this together as a community. And so we have different experiences, different opinions, and level of comfort and anxiety. So please, first and foremost, be patient, be compassionate, be empathetic, and be kind to all UCalgary community members, and you can expect the same from others.
Robin, related to the issue of COVID-19, we have had a student ask, can we get tested on campus even if vaccinated? For example, in the case of contact tracing. And I'm not sure if you have an answer to that, but we could certainly.
I do. So the COVID Safe website would speak to this. So the rapid testing are only for those who are not vaccinated or choose not to disclose their vaccination status. These rapid tests are not for the vaccinated. However, AHS, Alberta Health Services, are still offering the PCR test for those who are experiencing symptoms, no matter if you're vaccinated or not. And so we are referring people to the AHS testing sites for those. And we don't have any on campus, but if you link to the AHS COVID testing webpage, you're able to book appointments through that.
Thank you, Robin. And I just want to address something with our students who are writing in questions, because I know there are going to be a lot more questions about COVID and vaccinations and all of the procedures and requirements around that. Unfortunately, we only have limited time in this session to be able to address those. So by all means, continue to submit your questions, but please have some patience. It could be that our team behind the scenes is going to follow up with you later in this session or even possibly after the session. But certainly, as Robin has mentioned, visit that ucalgary.ca/COVID-safe campus website. And if you don't get answers, there should be contact information that will be helpful to you.
Excellent, Dan. I think it's also important for everyone to realize that this is an evolving situation. We are beholden to the regulations of the province, and they change depending on case counts and different environmental factors. And so these are constantly changing, sometimes week by week. So keep an eye out on the U Today emails that you get, the grad post you'll get from us, and the COVID Safe campus website for changes.
Now, Speaking of things positive and negative, this slide is certainly meant to be on the side of positivity. It's just a quick reminder that the next few years are going to bring many challenges, including a heavy workload. So please remember to slow down sometimes and celebrate the small stuff. And if you recall from the Travel Alberta videos that we saw at the beginning of the session, the sage advice was remember to breathe.
Yeah, but preferably breathe into a mask if you're less than 2 meters to the nearest person. So you've heard Tennille and I talk about the Faculty of Graduate Studies and the Graduate Students Association, and you've probably already been in contact with your program. But let's revisit the differences between these groups so you can better understand what we do and who to talk to when you need support. So FGS, as I mentioned, is your faculty of registration. We don't teach, but we are the ones who hold your registration. And the goal of my team at FGS is to help you succeed in your scholarly and research pursuits and to enable you to have the best possible graduate student experience. So we are providing overarching administration and support. We advise on rules and regulations. We connect you to academic and non-academic support, and we review rulings on important academic decisions. So we'll talk more about these services soon. So rounding this out, the GSA, or the Graduate Students Association, is your student association. So they represent you and your interests to all the governing bodies at the university and all levels of government and the Calgary community. So their goal is to advocate for graduate student issues at different levels. So they also have many services to help you have a great experience in grad school. And Tennille will be back with us later in the presentation with so much more information about the GSA and their services. So back to your program. Your graduate program or teaching faculty is where you receive instruction. And that's actually where some of you will get to experience teaching as a TA. Your teaching faculty employs your instructors and your supervisor for those of you in research-based programs. The program oversees your research progress and will provide you with the tools and space to do any practicum research or training associated with accreditation or progress in research endeavors. Because a graduate program is discipline specific, and this is where you'll gain much of your experience in networking within your discipline and profession. So today's orientation will be largely about what FGS and the GSA have to offer. Although our various websites hold much of this information, we recommend keeping an eye on your email for updates on various orientations or learning opportunities. And remember to review those checklists in D2L. That's when we get D2L back up and running. So there are a few key contacts that you will need to reach out to periodically and are very helpful should you need support. For those of you in research or thesis-based programs, and these are typically things like PhDs or MScs or some MAs, your academic supervisor is your most important contact. And your supervisor is the first place to ask about your research and progress and opportunities that may come up during your studies. If you're in a course-based program, such as the MBA or a course-based MEng, the first key contacts will be your course instructors and coordinators. So talk to your instructors and coordinators about assignments and workloads and other things pertaining to your courses. So another point of contact for all graduate students, whether you're research-based or course-based, and that is your graduate program director, or we abbreviate this to GPD. The GPD is a faculty member who has taken on the leadership responsibility of the graduate program that you're enrolled in. We have about 60 graduate program directors at the University of Calgary, and they're responsible for overseeing the departments or faculty's programs. So the next important contact is your graduate program administrator or GPA. And I'm sure you've probably already been in contact with your GPA when you submitted your application and received your letter of offer. The GPAs are amazing staff, and they assist with all the paperwork and administrative processes of the program. So they're experts in knowing what forms needed to be submitted when and where deadlines are for things like scholarships and fee payments. We have over 75 different GPAs across the University of Calgary. A host of other people are also here to support you, including your program chair, program head, associate dean of research, associate dean of graduate education, and they all have different names depending on what faculty to which you belong. But rather than remember all of these individuals, we suggest that you rely on your GPA, graduate program administrator, to direct you to where you need to go. So if you don't know who your GPA is, then take a minute to find them using the URL that will be shared in the chat. Excellent. So let's take a deeper dive into the Faculty of Graduate Studies and the specific services that we offer.
Robin, just before you do, because we are getting so many questions about COVID, I just wanted to address just one of these quickly. A student has asked, I have received a first dose of a vaccine on the 25th of August. Please correct me if I am wrong, but I think I will fall under vaccinated, correct? And I think, no, that is not correct.
No, you have to be fully vaccinated to fall under the vaccinated status. However, once you receive your second vaccine, and I believe 2 weeks after the second vaccine, you will be considered fully vaccinated according to Health Canada. So what I would recommend you do, and this will all be very detailed in the COVID Safe Campus website. It's a mouthful, where you will they'll encourage you to download an app to disclose your vaccination status, and that will go through all the very detailed specifics of what they considered vaccinated and unvaccinated. But if you've received your first dose of Moderna or Pfizer or AstraZeneca, fantastic. You're on your way to being fully vaccinated. Follow the public health guidelines, get that second vaccine, wait your time, and you'll be fully vaccinated. But in the meantime, the university will be requiring those who are partially vaccinated to do rapid testing unless they indicate otherwise. I hope that helps. Dan, is there anything else or could we move on? Or
I think in the interest of time, we should probably just keep rolling.
Excellent. Let's do that. So let's look at specific service of FGS. The Faculty of Graduate Studies comprise 4 main areas of service, and that is registration and records, the student advising and support, awards and scholarships, and finally, professional development, academic success, and experiential learning via My Grad Skills. So each of these areas have a team of experts and specialists who we'll hear from in the following slides. So first, let's start by hearing more about FGS frontline support. We have Christine Abedingo, our graduate student services assistant, to explain a little bit more about support, including registration and records.
Hello, graduate students. Welcome to the University of Calgary. My name is Christine Abedingo, and I'm the Graduate Student Services Assistant at the Faculty of Graduate Studies. I work as part of a team that's here to help you when you need assistance from the Faculty of Graduate Studies. If you contact FGS in person by visiting our office, over email, or by phone, our team will be your first point of contact. We can help you with registration, payment plans, thesis submissions, transcripts, and more. Our team will also help to connect you with specialists to answer your questions about graduate awards, internships and workshops, leaves of absences, concerns about supervision, and other issues that may arise during your graduate program. We look forward to helping you throughout your graduate experience. You can contact our office in person at Earth Sciences 1010, by phone at 403-220-4938, or by email at graduate@ucalgary.ca. You can also visit our website at grad.ucalgary.ca. Good luck in your studies.
Robin, I'm sure some of our students are going to be interested to learn more about payment plans. These plans allow one to pay tuition and fees over the course of the year rather than all in one lump sum. And this is an option available to all graduate students. To take advantage of this great opportunity, you must maintain year-round continuous registration, even if no course is being taken. Be sure to apply by the fall tuition and fee payment deadline, which is Friday, September 24th. Now, Christine also had a tip to share. Important deadlines like when to drop a course, pay fees, or apply for an award, along with workshop, internship, and other opportunities for grad students can all be found in GradPost. Please do look for GradPost in your email every Thursday. And you can use the link on the screen, also being dropped into chat, to find the graduate calendar. And you'll see that in the graduate calendar, there is also an academic schedule that will share all of those important dates with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. And it's a funny name, the graduate calendar, because it does have a calendar in it, but it's somewhat deceiving because the graduate calendar is the rules and regulations for the graduate school. So if you have any questions or if you don't know of a particular policy or regulation, or indeed course descriptions and program descriptions, the graduate calendar is where to go. So let's move on and hear more about FGS support of graduate student advising from Michelle Spetter, our Manager of Graduate Enrollment.
Hi, I'm Michelle Spetta, and I'm the Acting Manager of the Graduate Enrollment and Program Support Team in the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Our team is responsible for academic regulations and policy governing graduate studies, including thesis regulations. We also provide support and direction to all the university's graduate programs. As a graduate student, it's important for you to know that you can come to the Faculty of Graduate Studies when you need academic support. We have a team of graduate, academic, and international specialists who provide confidential and supportive advising and guidance. Students often have questions about working with their supervisors. We can help with that, along with any concerns or questions you may have about a candidacy or thesis exam, barriers or challenges impacting your academic progress, how regulations may apply in your situation, and your rights as a graduate student. To connect with our specialist advisors, you can book an appointment through grad.ucalgary.ca/student-support, or you can email us at grad.advisor@ucalgary.ca.
Robin, if I could jump in just for a second before we continue. Another student has asked, I started earlier this summer and haven't been getting the GradPost emails sent to my inbox. Is there a way to sign up for it? You don't need to sign up for GradPost. You will be automatically signed up for it by the Faculty of Graduate Studies. And I do apologize if you haven't been receiving it. We renew the registry or the list for GradPost every so many months, and we will be renewing it again this week to make sure that all of our new and current students are receiving GradPost.
And I guess it's good to mention that it goes to your UCalgary email address, and that's sort of the method of communication. And you might want to also check your clutter or spam boxes. Sometimes they get lodged there. Excellent. So moving on, I'd just like to introduce our student advisor, Yan Zhang, and she's going to be dropping in at a later session. And you probably already noticed with Michelle Spetter and Yan that these specialists have PhDs themselves or other graduate credentials. And so they've not only know what they're talking about, they've experienced it personally themselves. So Yan offers supportive and confidential advising by phone, by Zoom, and in person if you're on campus. And you can contact Yan and her team members at the URL on the screen, which will be also shared in the chat. So Yan and the other FGF team members have a very close working relationship with our partners. And this includes partners such as Student Wellness Services, Student Success Center, Student Accessibility Services, Student Ombuds Office, International Student Services, etc. In addition, Yan and her team has close contact with the other faculties and your very own graduate program. So we provide a very unique model of integrated support that is tailored for every graduate student. For instance, you might be a graduate student who is struggling in the program and requires academic accommodation. In this instance, we can help you manage these challenges that you face in collaboration with your program, as well as the Student Accessibility Services Office and the Student Success Center. So we help you navigate through the services provided by any of our on-campus partners and have a student-centered and individualized approach, which is also strictly confidential.
Robin, speaking of student support, we've got another great tip here, this time from Michelle, who recommends that everybody get familiar with the FGS Student Supervisor Checklist. I should correct that. It's not for everybody, but it is for everybody that is in a thesis-based degree. Make sure you read that checklist before meeting with your supervisor, as it will help you prepare questions for when you first meet with that person. You can follow the link here to find that student supervisor checklist, which of course will also be shared in the chat window.
All right, so let's switch gears and let's check in with the audience. Let's talk about some money and scholarships here. So let's go through the Zoom poll that's being shared on your screen. First of all, let us know if you think you are competitive for a scholarship, and then let us know if you've ever applied for a scholarship.
Now, while you are considering your answers, we're going to move on to our next speaker, in this case, Donna Marie McCafferty. Donna Marie is Associate Dean for Scholarships with FGS, and she's going to talk about, guess what, graduate scholarships.
Hello, I'm Donna Marie McCafferty, and I'm the Associate Dean Scholarships with the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Our scholarship team administers over $28 million in annual graduate funding through over 3,000 competitive awards. The University of Calgary is also one of only 6 Canadian institutions that offers scholarships funded by the Killam Trust. Make sure you take the time to search and apply for awards that you may qualify for. The Faculty of Graduate Studies also provides workshops for specific competitions. These workshops can help you put together the strongest possible application. Our scholarship team will also answer any questions you might have about awards, applications, and eligibility. Learn more by visiting grad.ucalgary.ca/awards.
Now, as we prepare to look at those poll results, Robin, there is another question I'd like to share with you. Do I need a social insurance number to accept scholarships and funding?
Actually, I actually don't know that answer, Dan. I believe you do, but our awards team in the wings and the backgrounds would be able to answer that for you. I don't want to give fraudulent tax advice. So if one of our support team members can answer that in chat, or message Dan or I, we will give you the most accurate information.
Let's have a look at those poll results.
Nothing like live TV, hey, Dan?
Oh, my goodness. Well, Robin, it looks like a fair number of our students believe that they are competitive candidates for a scholarship. I think that's very encouraging.
That's great. That's great. And almost half have previously applied for scholarship, and I hope by the end of this term, or certainly this year, that will be almost 100% will have applied for a scholarship.
Hopefully so.
Excellent. So as Donna Marie mentioned, each year FGS administers over $28 million in scholarships and award payments. And many of these are part of the Graduate Award Competition, or the GAC, as we refer to it. It opens in November, and it offers scholarships anywhere between $700 and $36,000. So you can find more details at the URL on the bottom of the screen. Please make sure you check out the award deadlines and just be very, very cautious. There may be internal programmatic deadlines that will be ahead of the FGS deadlines to pay attention to, because some programs need to do a pre-adjudication or they may need signatures. So look for both deadlines. And if you have any questions, contact your GPA and they will know what deadlines you need to hit. So there are many other award opportunities out there, and sometimes it can be really challenging to find them all. So check out the awards database on the FGS website for many other awards, including awards by external agencies. So also make sure to read your weekly FGS grad posts, as Dan mentioned. It comes to your UCalgary inbox every Thursday. You should be able to check with your supervisor as well, and have them be on the lookout for opportunities that are not necessarily captured within our own database. And also go out and search on your own. Look for programs and organizations that may fund your work. So there are some awards and bursaries that don't have many eligible applicants because the award terms of reference, they're looking for something very, very specific. But you may be eligible. So spend some time hunting through that database. And even if the dollar value is small, for instance, it's a $700 award, if you're eligible, why not apply? So every time you apply, you have a chance to A, get money, but B, build your CV and portfolio. And success begets success in scholarships. So look for scholarships, even if you don't think you are competitive. And remember, most of our successful graduate students applied for their scholarships multiple times before they were awarded their first one. So the takeaway is, for scholarships, keep looking and keep trying.
Absolutely great advice there. You've always got to keep applying, even if you don't succeed the first time around. Just another quick question that I think we can address pretty quickly here. What are the requirements for international students if they want to apply for scholarships? And I think that they would just need to probably look at the requirements for each scholarship they're considering. Is that right, Robin?
Absolutely. So some scholarships, particularly those that are at external agencies, and particularly the tri-council agencies, SHRC, NSERC, and CIHR, do have a requirement that they're only eligible for domestic students, and that is students who are Canadian permanent residents or citizens. However, there are many other opportunities that are open to domestic and international students, and they should be captured in the award terms of reference. And I believe if you go to the awards database, you are able to sort through the different scholarships that are available for your particular scenario.
Now, Elsa Lee Alho, one of our scholarship offers, has another great tip. As with everyone else, she recommends reading GradPost for award opportunities. But more specifically, Elsa Lee is suggesting that you set aside 5 to 10 minutes every Thursday to have a read through and take notes of important dates, not just for scholarships, but for all kinds of events that are of interest to you as a graduate student. And don't forget to review the news updates and events page for awards and other important deadlines and campus events. The information on that page is curated specifically for our graduate student audience.
Excellent. And if you want to improve your success with scholarship competitions, you can contact the scholarship office at gsaward@ucalgary.ca. And the Student Success Center, which is one of our partners, also have writing workshops and one-on-one support to improve your writing skills. A superbly written application would exponentially increase your success in any competition. So I'd also encourage you to talk to your supervisor, other students, and your graduate program director, and also your graduate program administrator for scholarship tips and advice. So finally, we're going to hear from Tara Christie, as a manager of the MyGrad Experience team, about MyGrad skills.
Hello, grad students, and welcome. My name's Tara Christie, and I'm the manager of the MyGrad Experience team in the Faculty of Graduate Studies. Our team has had the pleasure of running the MyGrad Skills program, which has been supporting graduate students like you for close to a decade. MyGrad Skills is your one-stop shop that connects you with workshops, training, and resources to help support your academic success, professional skills training, communication skills, entrepreneurial interests, and even career planning. There's so much on offer for graduate students to get the most out of your time at UCalgary. We're here to help you find the right mix of resources and training, and maybe even an internship to help you meet your goals. MyGrad Skills also runs competitions to help support your communication skills, such as the Images of Research competition and the 3-minute thesis competition. To find out more about these amazing opportunities, I encourage you to connect with us at our website at grad.ucalgary.ca/myGradSkills or by Twitter at the handle @myGradSkills. Welcome again, and best wishes for a first term.
All right. As Tara has mentioned, My Grad Skills has many resources and opportunities available to help you succeed academically, but also plan effectively for the next steps in your career. And this is from professional development workshops, support for entrepreneurial courses, ideas development, communication skills training, competitions and internships. There's a lot of opportunity there for you in these offerings. So be sure to find out more through the FGS webpage or through the D2L course.
Now we've got a final staff tip from Tara, who recommends attending an academic integrity workshop through the Student Success Center. These workshops are awesome for providing great writing tips and advice on how to avoid plagiarism and, of course, the tough penalties that plagiarism can bring.
Yeah, that's a really important point. Academic integrity is a cornerstone of the University of Calgary and Faculty of Graduate Studies. So we encourage you, if you're not familiar with academic standards, please, or how to avoid them inadvertently, please do something to educate yourself. Talk to your supervisor, take one of these courses, and so you don't get inadvertently caught up in academic misconduct. So if you need any help with any of these areas that we've discussed today or need help finding campus services or support, then please reach out to us. As I mentioned, the Faculty of Graduate Studies is located on the 10th floor of Earth Sciences on main campus. And you can also connect with us via our virtual reception. Or you can email us with questions and we'll be sure to direct you to the right person. Well, we have covered everything we're hoping to share today. So thank you to Dan for sharing so many tips and helping with that poll, and to Michelle, Yang, Christine, Donna Marie, Jamie, Elsa Lee, and Tara for helping share some of the ideas and things that FGS does for the University of Calgary's graduate students.
And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Neil.
Perfect. Thanks, Dan. And great presentation from FGS. Such important information. And I know there's a lot of information coming at all of you right now. So I hope the D2L course gets fixed up right away and so that we can get all this to you virtually. And also just wanted to make a comment that all the questions coming in are just fantastic. So I know the team behind the scenes is working incredibly hard to answer them. So be patient, but we will try to address as many of them as possible. But for now, we're going to talk about the Graduate Students Association. So on behalf of the Graduate Students Association, I would like to welcome you to our campus community. The next little bit, I'm going to be talking about all the programs and services that we offer to help you through your studies. So what is the GSA? So I know you're getting hit with a ton of acronyms today, and over the next little while, there'll be even more. But the GSA is the Graduate Students Association, and we represent you at the university, at all levels of government, and within the Calgary community. We also provide many other services that we'll be talking all about today. So the GSA is made up of student executives that are elected by you, the graduate students. And our work is supported by our amazing team of staff and student volunteers. So let's meet our 2021-2022 executive team. So you've already met me, Neil, and I'm your GSA president. We also have Alex, our VP academic, Kirsten, our VP external, Kavita, our VP student life, and Mary, our VP finance and services. And for another acronym, the VP is Vice President. Very fancy. So we are all full-time graduate students here at the university, and we'll be having a virtual meet and greet tomorrow, September 2nd, where you will get to know a bit more about us, and we all want to get to know you a lot better. At the end of this presentation, there's a slide with all the details about the event tomorrow, but on this slide, you can see what programs we're in. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're really happy and keen to meet all of you. So if we're in your program, definitely reach out. We're super friendly, I promise. But now we're going to dive in and talk about a few of our services that the GSA provides. So one of the largest programs that the GSA runs is the Extended Health and Dental Plan. This plan is the health and dental benefits plan that we run together with Student Care to provide extra benefits to keep you healthy while you're here in Calgary. These extended benefits can cover prescription drugs, dental and vision care, massages, physiotherapy, travel, and so much more. In this plan, all full-time students are automatically enrolled and are covered for 12 months, starting at their program start date. So this means for any of you starting today or this fall, you are covered from September 1st to August 31st. And some of you may have dependents like a spouse or your children, and you can opt them into the plan for additional fees during your change of coverage period. Also, if you are not a full-time graduate student, you may be eligible to opt into the plan for a fee as well. But it's also possible that you already have extended benefits through a spouse or a parent, and you wouldn't benefit from the GSA's plan. If this is your case, you can opt out of the GSA's plan during your change of coverage period. So what is the change of coverage period? So it is a period for all of you starting in the fall, which is between August 27th and September 24th, 2021. And it's for anyone who started in our fall intake. And this time period is for when you can opt in or opt out of the health and dental program. So make any changes to your coverage. After the September 24th, you can no longer go in and switch out your program changes. But if you started in January, May, or July, your change of coverage period will fall in those respective months. So make sure you know when your change of coverage period is if you're looking to make changes. So an important note for any of you of those who are outside of Canada, you will need to enroll in the Alberta Healthcare Insurance Plan before you can access the GSA Health and Dental Plan. But for more information, you can visit the Government of Alberta website on the slide or in the chat. So to claim these benefits, you can present the PayDirect card for prescriptions and dental work, which is available on the Student Care website in the Download Center. Please note that during the month of September, it may not work due to a blackout period, but during this period, you can submit claims via the app or online, but you will need a receipt to do that. For all other claims, you can submit them via the app or online. And for more information, you can visit the GSA website or Student Care. Just make sure if you're visiting Student Care, you're on the UCalgary GSA plan. We will also be having a Q&A with Student Care, our health and dental provider, on Friday at 9 a.m. And you can submit your questions via Facebook and Instagram or during the event in the chat box. For more information and for the link to the event, you can visit the GSA website, and there'll also be some more information at the end of this presentation. So another major component of the GSA is that we help support students financially during your studies. We offer different bursaries and grants throughout the year. Our GSA bursary program is available through application intakes in the fall and winter semester, and the funds can be used to ease financial strains that you may be experiencing. We also offer two other bursary programs that run year-round: the Emergency Bursary Program, which is available to support you in emergency or temporary financial strain, and the GSA Support Bursary, which is similar but does not require the financial strain to be an emergency. For those of you planning to go to conferences, workshops, or academic presentations during your studies, you can apply for a professional development grant to help offset the costs of attending these events. The GSA also awards students for their service to the community through a variety of awards that are given out at a gala held in April. And lastly, we have our Quality Money program. And through this program, you can access grants to support initiatives and events that impact graduate students. It's a great way to support multidisciplinary collaborations or interests outside of your research. And for any more additional information about these financial supports, their applications, their deadlines, all of that, please visit the GSA website. So graduate studies is so unique, and I know we've been talking a lot about that today, but another unique component of it is that you are a student of the university, but you also can be an employee of the university if you hold a graduate assistantship in teaching, research, or non-teaching. They're called GATS, GANTs, or GARs for more acronyms for you today. But if you hold one of any of these three, you're considered an academically employed graduate student. And if this is you, the GSA is also your labor union. It is important for you to know that you are that with your graduate assistantship contract, you have a collective agreement that outlines the rights and responsibilities of both you, the employee, as the graduate student, and the employer, the university. And as your labor union, the GSA has a labor relations committee, which exists to represent and support academically employed graduate students through education and advocacy. This committee is led by our Associate Vice President Labor, Kira Gunn, and here she is to say a few words about her role.
Hi, my name is Kira Gunn. I am the AVP Labor for the GSA and also the chair of the Labor Relations Committee. So I'm a little bit removed from the rest of the GSA because I'm only voted on and I only represent academically employed graduate students. Some of you may already have TA-ships lined up for the fall, and many of you will be RAs or TAs at some point throughout the rest of your graduate studies. If that's the case, then all of the terms of your employment are dictated by a collective agreement between the GSA and the University of Calgary. My job is to make sure that grad student workers are treated fairly and in line with that collective agreement. One of my other jobs is to negotiate the collective agreement, and we actually have bargaining coming up next year. You can find the collective agreement pretty easily from the GSA website. It's a pretty long legal document, so if you ever have any questions about it or want some clarifications, you can send me an email at lrc.gsa@ucalgary.ca. If you ever have any questions about your employment or concerns about things like the hours that you're working or the type of work that you're doing, then obviously send me an email and I'll see if we can figure it out and how to deal with it. Basically, I work for you. All right, good.
Awesome. So as Kira said, you can find the collective agreement and more information about labor relations on the GSA website, or you can always reach out to Kira or our labor relations committee at the email on the slide and in the chat. So during your graduate studies, I highly encourage you to get involved. This is a fantastic way to enhance your graduate experience. And the GSA has many committees that help run GSA initiatives. You can volunteer to become a member of these committees and help us govern, plan events, support sustainability, and so much more. Volunteering with the GSA is also a great way to learn new skills, make friends, create a sense of community, and develop your leadership skills. And if you're more interested in getting to know students in your department, you can also join a departmental graduate association. If you have specific research, cultural, or special interests, we may have a graduate student group, which is like graduate clubs for you, and that will allow you to meet students with similar interests. If you're looking to be notified when volunteer opportunities arise, please consider adding your name to our volunteer recruitment program. So essentially, if you want to get involved, there is a way to get involved for you. And for any information, if you're just curious about what opportunities are out there, please head on over to gsa.ucalgary.ca. Now, we have a lot of events throughout the year that you can help plan on some of these committees. And for fall 2021, we are bringing in many great online events, including paint parties, holiday-themed events, and much more. We also have a discounted ticket program where you can purchase tickets to attractions and events at a greatly reduced price. Keep an eye out on our discount ticket page for upcoming discounts. They're always changing and there's always something new going on in the city and surrounding areas that we're trying to make financially affordable for graduate students. And both of these programs have features to help you access them in this kind of hybrid world we're living in right now. We can deliver event materials within Calgary and we can even mail tickets to you. So I also mentioned some events that are happening during orientation week. Tomorrow, you can meet the GSA Executive team and have a chat with us, ask us any questions or anything about the information I just presented. And if you have questions about the health and dental plan, I recommend waiting till Friday where you can ask them directly to Student Care, our health and dental provider, at the Health and Dental Q&A. We are also running a GSA bingo this week. And by filling out a bingo card, you can be entered to win a $200 grocery card, a $100 Staples gift card, and much more. For more details and links about these events, you can check them out on the GSA website. And also, as always, if you missed anything during this presentation, we will be uploading this to our website under graduate orientation. So you can find us at gsa.ucalgary.ca or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter to keep up to date on what is happening at the GSA. You will also start receiving a weekly newsletter from us called the News and Views, and each month we publish a newsletter all about our upcoming events. If you are not receiving these, make sure to check your Outlook clutter folder and click the I trust content from this email button. Sometimes the IT stuff filters out our emails and you don't want to miss out on all these awesome discounted tickets, giveaways, and so much more. And I hope to see you soon. I'm going to hand the webinar back over to Dan and Robin to wrap up the session.
Thanks, Danielle. You make it look easy. So great information as always. It's always a pleasure to work with you and your team. And FGS really appreciates a close working relationship we have with the Graduate Students Association.
Well, Thank you both for your time this morning, Tennille and Robin, and to all of our students participating, thank you for hanging in with us. It's a lot of information coming at you very quickly, and we're actually just going to keep on rolling. We've got one more session. Okay, now this final session that we're starting is going to be an engaging one, and I think you're going to be glad that you stayed with us. So we're going to start with a presentation from some more members of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and then move on to our graduate student panel, where you're going to hear more about life as a grad student at UCalgary. You're also going to get a chance to ask the panel a few questions. So to get things started, it's my pleasure to introduce our MCs for this next session, Dr. Clifton Cunningham and Dr. Yan Zhang. Dr. Cunningham is professor of mathematics at the University of Calgary, working in the Langlands program. He has quite a few accolades to his name and research. And just as importantly, Dr. Cunningham works closely with Dr. Yates, Dr. Drefts, who is also Associate Dean Student Experience, and the FGS academic specialists to support graduate students and faculty experiencing issues with supervision, research progress and extensions, misconduct, exams, and conflict. Dr. Zhang is FGS's graduate academic and international specialist, working together with Dr. Cunningham and others to support graduate students experiencing issues. Yan has a doctorate in education and has been supporting and advising students for about 2 years. Clifton and Yan, I'm going to hand the mic over to you now for the next 10 to 15 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll move on to the student panel.
Thanks so much, Dan. Yes, thank you everyone for sticking it out and making it to this last part 3, if you like, part of graduate orientation this year. My name is Clifton Cunningham, as Dan has mentioned, and I'm one part of the student team. Well, Faculty of Graduate Studies is all about graduate students, but within the Faculty of Graduate Studies, we have a team that's specifically focused on a certain cluster of issues. And in this presentation, my colleague and I will introduce what those issues are, what we do, what the student team does. Yan Zhang, who's here with me today, is going to start by talking about some of our graduate student services. But if you could just back up for just a moment to the previous slide, I want to really make sure that everyone understands that the student team is 3 people, and it includes Dr. Michelle Drefts, who's not here today, but she's the Associate Dean Student Experience. And the 3 of us work very, very closely together on a whole suite of student issues. Okay, Jan, if you could take it from here, thank you.
Thank you, Clifton. And Kim, I think we're good to go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the University of Calgary. As graduate students here at U of C, and your experiences actually can be enriched and enhanced by getting familiar to these so many student services and resources. I know some were already introduced to you earlier, like how FGS can help you and how GSA can be your advocacy. And also some of you might have attended international student orientation to know more about how ISS can help you. So here a little bit more you might want to explore. Just depending on, for example, what you are looking for, like if you would like to know how to search in a database and how to improve your academic writing skills, just go to the workshops by the library and the Student Success Center. You can go to student wellness services if you need some health and consultation or checkup, or physical and mental. Another example is, for example, the grad college is a good opportunity or good community that you can join together with other scholars and engage in different events and develop your network. So I know, maybe some of you doesn't get access to your D2L, but whenever you get a chance, you get access, please go to your D2L and you will find a little bit more information about all these resources. Okay. Kim, I think we are good to go to the next slide. Thank you. Well, we really hope that you start well. So here are just a few more tips and to help you, to go with your semester number one will. So for both course-based and thesis-based students, please remember the deadlines for the tuition and also the deadline for ad-job courses. So these two are different deadlines, and please double check and make sure you don't miss them. And of course, try your best to complete and pass all the courses required by the program. So that means that you have to get at least a B- or higher grades, and also maintain your average GPA 3.0, which is the graduation requirement, and also to keep in a very good academic standing. And well, the third tip that we are giving here is make a satisfactory academic progress. So progress, we mean, like, for example, the timely completion of your coursework and capstone projects. For PhD students, it also means a very steady and meaningful progress to finish your candidacy and also towards your final thesis and defense, right? So we know in every May for most programs, and you are to fill in your annual progress report. So where you summarize and you reflect on what you have done in last year, like about your learning, about your research, and also about professional development. So your supervisor and also program director will also make comments on your performance, suggestions, or any of their concerns. And also you can make possible future plans altogether. So please try your best to make the evaluation satisfactory. Of course, you can make it as to gold and also excellent one. Okay. So we know it is also important to conduct some conversation with your supervisor if you're thesis-based. So I will hand it over to Clifton for more detailed suggestion.
Thank you, Jan. So the student team at the Faculty of Graduate Studies is really concerned with issues that arise sometimes as you progress through your degree and through your research, through your PhD, through your master's, in particular as they relate to progress toward your course requirements and your research requirements. So Jan has just been speaking about some of those issues that you need to sort of keep in mind imminently for the first term, especially if you're a thesis-based student. And I just want to say a few words about research students and likewise imminent issues. So in this first term, please make an effort to have a few important conversations with the people who are involved, especially in supporting your research, even though your program may begin with courses that in fact occupy most of your time before you actually get to the research component. It's important to have a conversation with your supervisor about what those courses are, and so that they're chosen to support the research that you intend to take. Again, this is advice for research-based students for the most part. And as part of that conversation, you should also be talking about research and lab expectations. Even if your time in the lab or in a research environment is fairly minimal at the beginning of your program, and it may not be, but even if it is, then you should clarify as much as possible what those expectations are, how much time you should be spending in the lab, talking about safety issues. Some of them can be COVID related, and of course, there are just always safety issues to keep in mind when you're working in a lab. That those same conversations, preliminary conversations that you should be triggering, if they haven't already happened or if they aren't already scheduled with your supervisor, may concern some sophisticated and ongoing issues that you will encounter as you move through your research project, specifically intellectual property, ethics approval. These sorts of things can take quite some time. There's a long ramp that's good to get started on, at least to have some understanding on what the issues are as you start toward your research. And of course, your courses will hopefully support your research projects. And now is the time to start having conversations around what that research project actually is. Again, a long arc, a good lead is a great move, a good strategic move, and be proactive. Contact your supervisor if it hasn't happened already. Maybe you even have an interim supervisor. That's okay. Have these conversations anyway, and make sure that you're seeing eye to eye. We can help you, Jan and I can help you with skills around those conversations, how to have them effectively, how to make sure that you've understood each other, This is all part of the support that the student team provides to you. And of course, also these conversations should include research and funding of various sorts, including scholarships. And again, with a long arc, the sooner you start on these issues, the sooner you're able to start to grapple with them effectively.
Yeah, well, thank you, Clifton. Yeah, we can go to next slide, please, Kim. Yeah, thank you. Well, we know, grad school can be an amazing opportunity actually to deepen your education in an area that interests you and also to develop your professional identity. Well, in addition to those positive experiences, there could be challenges and difficulties sometimes. Okay, so there would be a period of adjustment here. So here are just a few more tips to adjust the norms of grad school, like the first one with higher academic expectations, including research and ethics, different standards of academic integrity. Well, more attention to this one. I know Tara actually advised this one earlier, but we really want to stress this point again. Like academic integrity is one core value of the University of Calgary. Like it means a commitment and demonstration of a very honest and responsible scholarship. You are from different cultures and from different countries and different universities. So the standard of academic integrity could be different. We here urge you to go to the academic integrity webpage and to check the workshop and other resources. And please do attend at least one or two of the integrity workshop and talk to the advisor there if needed. So this is definitely the suggestion from most of our former students who actually run into the academic misconduct, such as, for example, the self-plagiarism or unauthorized assistance or cheating, etc. So most of them made them unintentionally. So after they attended actually the workshop, they said, okay, I have learned quite a lot and really hope that I have learned it earlier. And they do suggest that new graduate students to please take some training in their first semester. Okay. And well, we know during the graduate studies, problems can occur anytime. As Clifton mentioned, there could be problems relating, for example, the very unclear expectations from your supervisor or from instructors, very unclear assignment rubrics, and some other problems like you have family urgencies, like my spouse just loses a job, and or sometimes so happy you have your twin babies to take care, like maybe you might need some time off your program. And also there could be confusion sometimes related to the intellectual property, as Clifton mentioned. So what belongs to who, right? So whenever these questions occur, please do to go to talk to the supervisor, talk to the administrators, talk to us, and also find some professionals for help. Okay. And number 4 point here, shifting from knowledge consumer to knowledge producer. Here is just a change of the roles or kind of more awareness of your active involvement in the knowledge production. When we know you produce the knowledge actually here outside of the university, outside of the classroom, and in the lab, from the internship. So knowledge actually comes from life experiences as well as your understanding of the world. You produce the knowledge guided by the faculty members. You are collaborating with them and you are co-constructing the knowledge with them. So you will find your agency during the process. Well, with all these greater responsibilities as a graduate students, we'll always be ready to be more flexible. One example, we can reflect is just to say how, this COVID has influenced our life and our learning, right? How much has changed regarding our communication style, regarding the ways of teaching and learning, and even the ways of having meetings, etc. Right? So, or your working environment, working schedules, and so on. Well, on one hand, we kind of understand, making a good planning is important, but always be ready to be open and flexible to welcome the new challenges as well as opportunities. I think next we will come to the more exciting moment. Then we will listen to our students panelists to know how they thrive their graduate studies. I will hand it over to Clifton to lead this discussion.
Thanks Thanks, Jan. Yes, absolutely. We've saved the best for last, I assure you. I'm glad if you stuck around. It's my pleasure to move us to the student panel part of this graduate orientation. And we have three panelists, we have three students who I'm going to introduce, and then they're going to share some of their experiences, and we're going to have little conversations about some student issues. So first up today, we have Bahare Yakakani, an international student in geomatics engineering, almost done with PhD requirements. I'm going to introduce the three of you, and then we'll move on to our conversation. Also, next, we'll have Harrison Campbell, a domestic PhD student in Workland School of Education, specializing in curriculum and learning, and currently in the late stages of candidacy. And finally, Kieran Coer, a second-year international course-based master's in planning student at the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape. Thank you to the three of you for joining us here today. And in fact, I wanted to start with you, Bahare, to hear a little bit about your work and what you do in your background. I understand that you and a team of graduate students won recently the grand prize of the Canadian Space Agency Space Apps Challenge in 2019, I should say. That must have been exciting, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that as you tell us about yourself.
Yes, of course. So hi, everyone. Good to be among you and see all of you. I'm Bahare. I'm a PhD student in geomatics engineering, and my research is on remote sensing and Earth observation. And I'm basically working on satellite and airborne images. Canada has several satellites in this space, so I was really excited to come to Canada and study here. And I started my graduate degree at UCalgary because it's well known, especially in geomatics engineering. Indeed, it is among the first top geomatics departments in the world.
Fabulous. All right. Thank you again for coming to this session today and for sharing your experiences. Harrison, if you could give a wave to indicate who you are. Yep, there we go. I understand that you've been involved in theater for 14 years, and your favorite show is Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. Some musical versions of this are dear to my heart. Let's hear a little bit more about how you connected your research interests, your interests to your research.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So my research, which has been generously funded by the Tri-Council and the Killam Trusts, is in literacy. And I study how literacy and arts-based spaces can be enriched in secondary schools. So in Canada, that means grades 7 to 12. And so I work with students through a process of interviewing, journaling, and performances to improve their reading, writing, speaking, and listening in terms of literacy learning. And I also work with teachers to develop professional development and support them in their literacy instruction and the use of arts in their classrooms. And I came to U of C for my supervisor, so I applied to my program seeking out my supervisor specifically. She's fantastic, as many supervisors across campus are. So that's what brought me here. So thank you for having me today.
Thanks, Harrison. Yeah, it's interesting. We choose graduate programs based on expertise in satellites, people, supervisors, prospective supervisors, all sorts of other factors. It's institutional support, even sometimes the cities that the university is located in. So it's good to see, to get a little window on how people make decisions, the decisions in this case that brought them to the great and glorious University of Calgary. And Kieran, let's move on to you. If you could give us a little wave again. There you go. I understand you're a Harry Potter, hobby Potter. I'm sorry, you're not a Harry Potter fan. You're a hobby Potter. Curious about everything and nothing. I'm be curious to know what that means exactly. And that you're a course-based student. And so it's important for us to hear, as I flagged previously in the student team presentation, we as a student team at the Faculty of Graduate Studies, we make sure that we understand that some students are course-based and some students are thesis-based, and everyone's important. The issues are sometimes different. There's a lot of overlapping issues. So Karen, please speak with that voice and make sure that we hear from a course-based graduate student. Tell us about what brought you to the University of Calgary.
First of all, thank you for having me here. For what brought me here, the form-based planning program is unique in Canada to University of Calgary. That was the biggest draw for me. I'm an architect by my previous background, and this program was the best option I could find to bridge my architectural background with my aspirations for planning. One huge draw for the University of Calgary is the mountains nearby. Regarding my curiosity, it's an occupational hazard. I'm an architect. We have a joke that we are masters of none. We know so much about so many professions, because when you're planning for somebody else, you have to really know what they want to do in their day-to-day life, how they would want their built environment to be around them. So that's the curiosity part. I'm curious about almost everything.
Great, fabulous. All right, thank you so much. Okay, now I have questions. I'm going to just post some questions and throw them out to the three of you to respond to, because you are the seasoned experts. You're not just arriving, unlike most of our audience today. You've been here for a while, and so I'd like to draw on your expertise, and in particular ask if you could do your first term, even your first year again, what would you make sure that you did?
I guess I would definitely pay more attention to all the emails that I receive from different departments at the university, like FGS, GSA, ISS, they are all sources to help students, to support them. So I would definitely do that.
I completely agree with you. Time management is a skill that it's better if we learn it earlier than later. With so much to do and a completely new environment, the whole balancing of work and life can get very overwhelming. So in my opinion, focusing on one thing at a time and setting priorities was immensely helpful. Lists have become my best friends.
Time management is such a crucial issue. So it's so easy to lose perspective and lose focus on that. But it's an issue that I certainly grapple with my whole life, and I think all of us who work on projects need to think very carefully about our priorities as we manage our time. Well, not unrelated. If you could recommend one resource to incoming graduate students that the university provides, what would you draw their attention to?
So the University of Calgary Library is very fantastic. There's so many resources across the libraries that you can have access to. Two things I'll point out as an example is there's discipline-specific libraries, such as the Doucette Library in Education, that has teaching kits you can sign out if you're doing research in classrooms. You can even sign out puppets, and they have a whole puppet collection for teaching and learning. And there's also library guides that are available online, freely accessible as students. I'll post a link to one of my favorites in the chat around Indigenous storytelling, again, for K-12 classroom settings. But there's a ton of guides. This is just one example. I would highly recommend you log on to the library website and dig around a little bit and reach out to the librarian that's kind of specialized in your discipline. They're all fantastic scholars, and it's a great support.
Thanks, Harrison. What a great point. Yeah, the library is such a resource, such an important resource for so many things, not just books.
Yeah, for sure. And I would like to add, GSA for students to find new friends, and ISS, especially for international students, because they can ask their questions regarding their international status.
Clifton, if it's okay, I'd like to just pop in now with a question or two that have come in from our audience. First of all, there's a question that I'm going to address here. I'd certainly love to hear from our student panel about this, and I'm also going to invite Dr. Tara Christie from the Faculty of Graduate Studies to weigh in. The question is, what did you do to make your research more easily accessible or translatable to the public? So again, for our student panelists, if you've got an experience that you can draw on in thinking about this question, that would be great. If you're not sure how to answer it too, we're also going to ask Tara Christie, who leads the My Grad Skills program, to weigh in as well.
Hi, Dan. Maybe I'll pop in right now as the students are thinking about their answers to this. Hello, everyone. Welcome. As Dan mentioned, my name is Tara Christie, and I manage the My Grad Skills program. And a part of this was mentioned earlier in my video, if you can remember way back to the beginning of this session of GradO, was talking about research communication skills training. And so we have lots of opportunities on campus with some competitions that we host, such as the 3-minute thesis competition, which is where graduate students have the opportunity to take 3 minutes with just one slide to present their research project. And the idea is you're presenting it to the general audience, so you have to make it accessible. We have lots of workshops and feedback sessions, one-on-one sessions with graduate students to be able to support you in developing this. We also work with the Graduate Students Association on an images of research competition. So in this case, you can take a photo that represents your image and you write both a general and a technical abstract for it. Again, we have lots of workshops, resources, and support. Behind me are actually some of the photos from those competitions. And if you saw Dr. Yates earlier, there was one of the written photos presented behind him as well. I know many departments also have methods. We have even improv classes available and other things. So do connect with My Grad Skills. I'll pop in the link to our webpage and kind of keep a lookout for that more, as well as our newsletter. We'll always be sharing information there. And I will now pop to the graduate students to see if you have any additional pieces or experiences during these competitions that you took part in.
If I could add one thing, there is a GSA program called Thesis Talk Thursday that the Vice President Academic Alex and I run together. I'll put the link in the chat for you as well. If you're interested in sharing your research publicly, we work with you to cut down on jargon in your research, so we make it in accessible language. We do a social media feature for you. We make a really nice infographic for you that we share on all our social media channels. We do podcasts with grad students to kind of make it accessible to a wide audience. So if you are interested in learning more about that, reading some of the past features, or becoming involved, please contact me or the GSA through the page, the link in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, feature you, and have you reading some of those wonderful features.
University of Calgary is a great place to think about and grapple with this issue, actually, and Calgary more generally also. There are programs at the Banff Centre for Arts, for example, that address specifically this issue for science, how to communicate your research, often technical, how to make sure that you reach out to a wider audience. It's a skill. It's not easy, but it's an important issue, and it's one that's not going away for sure. Dan, did you have any other questions?
I do, and I just wanted to follow up and reinforce what you're saying. It's absolutely a critical skill to develop, and I feel like students here are in a good place by being at the University of Calgary, because we have some awesome programming to help with those communication skills as you develop them throughout your grad program. Here's another question for the panelists. How was your first time meeting your supervisor? How did you approach having this first conversation? And do you have any tips?
So I guess the first time that I saw my supervisor was the first day that I started, to come to the university. We had a chat, we just get to know each other, and yeah, so it was a good start. And the first thing that I was really worried about was about weather in Calgary, because I'm from a country that the weather is not that cool, and he assured me that everything is all right, so it was a good memory for me.
Fabulous. Good on you for having that conversation early, and that it was a good experience. And okay, well, your supervisor lied to you about the weather, but I'm sure everything else you heard was correct.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate some of that. I really agree with the tone of that meeting. I think when you first meet your supervisor, you have to get to know each other first. So you might feel pressure to jump into that wonderful checklist right away. Whereas I think that checklist, as great as it is good for like a second or a third meeting. Get to know them a little bit, talk about their research, let them know where you're coming from and what inspired you to pursue graduate studies, and then bring in that checklist and make sure you go through each of those points with them in like a follow-up meeting before. And that just helps to build good rapport as you start your program.
Very nice. Great point, Harrison. Thanks.
Clifton, here's another one for the panel. How do you organize and prioritize tasks when you're not always given any specific instructions? I guess it's a question really about any tips that our students might have about staying organized and on top of the many, many things that they have to keep organized as grad students.
Yeah, we talked about time management in broad strokes a moment ago, but what about some specific skills that you found helpful?
That's a tricky, difficult question. So for me, what I'm doing is that I get help from my supervisor for sure. Sometimes when he when he clarifies that what I should do and what are other steps that I should take, it helps me a lot to understand that in what stage I am right now. The other thing that I found most recently, especially during this COVID area, is that I use a lot of consultants at the university that can help you with time management and everything. And I get help from them a lot.
Yeah, that's great, Bahare. Jan and I speak with students about this and different skills. Of course, everyone thinks differently, and so different techniques will be helpful to different people. Making lists, just continuing to make lists about what you need to do and keep coming back to it every couple of days. Check off a few, and then move forward the ones that you still haven't dealt with, so you don't forget them. I find that very helpful. As far as that first conversation or early conversations, in fact, any conversations with your supervisor, I really encourage people to be responsive listeners, which is to say, if your supervisor is saying, I'd like you to go and do this experiment or write that chapter on this topic, say, okay, so what I hear you saying is I should write a chapter on, Harry Potter. No, I'm a hobby Potter. Go through this exercise of clarifying, making sure that you've understood by repeating back and try and reach that level of clarity. And often that can take the form of an email. You have a conversation, you go back, you have some time to think about it. Maybe you start work and you need some extra, you realize it's not clear in your mind what you need to do. Follow up with an email and make it explicit. These are skills that we hope that you'll develop over time.
And your UCalgary email does come with a feature called Outlook Calendar. So it's a calendar attached to your UCalgary email account. I have a saying that if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist. So put everything you can into your calendar, set reminders to ping to your phone or to somewhere where you'll see it easily. And then that helps just remind you and prompt you. You can set those reminders for a whole day in advance, 10 minutes in advance, however much time you need just to remember to make all those important meetings that are going to come up.
That is awesome advice, Harrison. Sorry, Clifton, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I was going to say the same thing. And this was in Harrison's calendar, so this does exist. But I feel the same way, actually. If it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen.
The Outlook calendar rules all, for sure. Now here, we've had a lot of great questions about focused on kind of academic success and getting started right with your supervisor and so on. But of course, we know there's more to life as a grad student than just studies. That downtime is essential to your mental health. And so in that vein, here's a great question we've had. What do you do outside of the University of Calgary to relax and chill?
There is so much to do in Calgary. I live right by Nose Hill Park. That's my go-to place. Any evening, I feel like work is getting overwhelming. I take a 1-hour break, take a walk, come back, and surprisingly, my brain is fresh. I'm happy to kind of get back to the smallest, silliest thing that was stopping me before. You have to go check out all the parks. Fish Creek, the river pathway system are amazing. If you want to go out and hang out in your downtime, the 10th Street Kensington area is really nice. Inglewood is really nice. Mission is really nice. 17th is like probably the heart of the city. We recently last week did a biking tour of downtown. It just took 3 or 4 hours, but I got to see downtown very, very differently. Calgary has so much to do. Just join all the Facebook groups that you can, look at the campus engagements that you have, and you'll be all set in no time.
Yeah, you're definitely right, Grant. I would say mountains. Go for hiking and rafting and, camping. There are a lot of things you can do around. And of course, GSA has a lot of events as well. So make sure to use those ones as well.
And the GSA also sells tickets to other events that they don't specifically run at discounted prices. So if you like to go watch live theater or you like to go to the movies and you want tickets at a better price, if you buy them through the Graduate Student Association, you get a really good deal. So you save a lot of money that way.
Dan, can you explain to me why we didn't have these three run this whole session today? This is fabulous.
I don't know. My imposter syndrome is growing by the minute.
Yeah, me too.
Clifton, we have gone just a couple of minutes past the scheduled end of the session, but as I see, we still have over 500 participants. I thought we could do at least one more question and then we'll wrap things up. And to the students who have been asking questions, thank you so much for your questions. I do apologize that we may not get to all of them before the end of this session, but pay attention to the contact information that you've seen throughout the presentations this morning. And by all means, please reach out to us if you have questions that are lingering after the end of this session. But before we break to wrap things up, here's another great question that gets at that grad student lifestyle. How can we connect with people with similar study interests?
So there are a number of working groups across campus. If you do humanities-based research like I do, there's a Center for Humanities here. So it's the Calgary Institute for the Humanities. It's run through U of C. I'll put the link in the chat in a moment, but they run working groups on all kinds of topics, and they connect grad students and faculty together. So you'll get connected with both faculty members and graduate students that have similar research interests. And if none of those appeal to you, or if your research is in the humanities specifically, I would encourage you to talk to your supervisor about setting up groups within your faculty, within your teaching faculty, because often they're able to kind of connect you or know people that they can connect you to as well.
I just wanted to say that also departments are holding events that are trying to connect students to people outside of the university. So let's say I was able to have to get a lot of connections outside of the university and to find internships, job opportunities, such and so on. And of course, I think LinkedIn profiles, these kind of things can also be really helpful.
Okay. I know I said that was going to be the last question, Clifton, but I cannot resist also voicing one more question because it's such a good one. For students coming from India, and in fact, this could be for students coming from anywhere that is warmer than Calgary, which is almost everywhere. What winter clothes can you recommend packing? And before anybody answers, I just want to give the answer quickly. All of them.
That's right.
Okay, so I think I'll take this one on. I was a remote student when we started this last year, and I moved here in January. For the people who are in Calgary, I moved here on a -21 day, finished my quarantine on a -30 day, and those were the maximum temperatures of that day. So winter has been very, very kind to me. One big tip that I would give is bring whatever winter clothes you have from a warmer country. They might not be very, very useful because they're not meant for the -30-degree winter here, but they will still be very helpful during what we have right now. The winters, like the evenings get chilly and the fall is going to be slightly chilly. Bring all your sweaters, bring all your light jackets. As a student, you won't be very inclined to go and buy new clothes. They will be very helpful. If you have already some connections here or some friends here, ask them to buy you a good parka jacket. Please do not skip out on money on it. A decent parka jacket would be anywhere around $150 to $200. If you have the time to go out for a Boxing Day sale or one of these big sales, try to get one for cheaper, but please look for a -32-degree rating at least in it. Parkas will save your life. You would need very, very nice, warm snow boots that need to be waterproof. Lifelines. If you're waiting outside on a 35-degree evening for a transit bus, you need to be warm. One other thing that somebody Canadian suggested to me that has been my lifeline here was merino wool warmers. Please do not bring any warmers from India or a warmer country. They do not work here. The fabrics here are very different, very thin, and they have been engineered much better to keep you warm in that kind of temperature. Don't skimp out on them. That money will be money well spent. It'll keep you warm through a very long winter.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Kiran. You know, I came here in the middle of October and it was snowing. It was not even, in the middle of the winter. And I had my coats and I thought they would be enough, but they weren't enough at all. So I guess one of the things that helped me a lot was that my department assigned me to one of the students, the other students that have been here for several years. So she helped me a lot for buying clothes and buying, proper shoes, everything. So of course, if you can get help from anyone else, I guess there are a lot of people who are happy to help. So don't worry about it.
I would like to add a little something to it. So the graduate studies faculty has a grad arrival email specifically set for students who are coming in. You can ask any and all of your questions to us. We are here to help you. And we also have a quarantine buddy program in which all the students who have to quarantine because of COVID are assigned with a buddy. Those buddies could be your starting point to help you out. We also run a volunteer program where volunteers can help you out with physical things if you can't go and get them, especially if you're in quarantine. Just feel free to ask your questions. Even if we can't help you, we'll point you out to the right department that can help you. I'll just put that email in the chat for everyone.
Thank you, Kiran. Great answers and great resources. Very, very helpful. Okay, well, I hate to end all of this discussion, but we are about 10 minutes past time. So again, thank you to all of our students for staying on with us. And just before I hand it back over to Clifton to wrap the session up, I'd like to mention that we do have another 5 winners of the fabulous prize pack with the backpack and the bag of goodies. And so I'm going to ask Sava to share the next 5 names in the chat. So if you see your name there, just know that we will be getting in touch with you to get your prize package to you. And with that, I will pass it back over to you, Clifton.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Bahare, Harrison, and Kiran so much for answering these questions. We really appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Well, as Dan indicated, I'm just going to wrap up with a few quick reminders, a few points to take away from this graduate orientation session, fall 2021. Read your email, like it or not. That's a really important source of information for all things related to your graduate studies, so grad posts specifically. Attend your Faculty of Graduate Studies orientation. Oh, wait, you've already done that. No, but what you haven't done is attended your programs orientation session. So make sure that you do that. I know there's some D2L issues, but they will get worked out, as Dan has indicated, and make sure that you subscribe for updates. Also find out about deadlines for scholarship applications. GAC is a bit of a clearinghouse for that process. There are others. Make sure that you stay on top of funding and scholarship opportunities, and again, be proactive there. And more generally, be proactive in all regards. Reach out for help. And when it comes time to have those early conversations with your supervisor, use the checklist to make sure that some of those key issues are covered. It doesn't need to be in the first meeting, as Harrison pointed out, but it should be sooner rather than later. The checklist is helpful, and so are some of the tips that we gave you in this session today.
Okay, thank you, Clifton. Just a quick reminder to our attendees of a couple of upcoming info sessions being put on by the GSA and the International Student Services. Please check out the links to find out more and register to attend. And with that, we are at the end of our September 2021 GradO. Thank you again to all of our presenters, our student panelists, the staff members behind the scenes, and especially to all of our new grad students for joining us and sticking it out to the end. We really hope this session has been helpful and engaging for you. And don't forget, we will make a copy of this video available with all the noted links and details on the Grad D2L site, which we will fix up for you. And otherwise, we'd like to wish you all the best for a couple of really excellent years as graduate students at the University of Calgary. Be sure to stay in touch with us and reach out if you have any questions or need any support. We are here to help you.